So what's it feel like to be out at Cal and get this opportunity?
Yeah, it's been great. I'll say this: one, having a chance to work with Coach Wilcox again. We have history, and I know what kind of program he's going to run. I know how he's going to do things, and then getting to be around the staff and how they operate and guys that have been here. That's been a great experience, and I appreciate that too. I appreciate the culture he's built and established here with guys, and then the players, how they've responded to some of the changes, some of the new staff, how I think they've worked really hard on trying to figure out the stuff that we're trying to do. And they've done it each and every day with the strength staff, with the coaching staff, offensively specifically. So overall, man, it's fun. I tell you, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Guys have been great. It's fun to work with them. It's a great environment, and we're just every day trying to find a way to get better. I think guys are into that right now, and that's been a good feeling.
You sort of talked about it, but can you expand on why you took this job?
Yeah, well, I believe in Coach Wilcox. That's number one. And I want to be around great people, and I know he's that. I know some of the coaches that were on staff as well that were going to be here. They're great people. And, Cal, to me, this has always been a place. When Tedford was here and some of those coaches and players that have come through this program, I've always followed Cal. So it's always been a place in my heart that I've seen as one of the elite programs and players that have come out of here. I think, with Tedford being here too, what he did offensively for a lot of us offensive coaches, because we followed a lot of things that he did. So I've always had Cal, there in the back of my mind. And, as I talked to Justin, and we would talk when I was the head coach, and so we kept in communication that way. And, I wanted to be a part of something that he was leading, and I wanted to be a part of a program that I've seen from afar, that I've held at high regard, with coaches and players that have been through here and come in here and try to make an impact, on our side of the ball and bring some value that way. So, and so far it's been great. Love living out here. My wife and I were empty nesters now, so it's kind of a new phase in our life. We have a grandson, and my son's playing football at Idaho State right now. So it's a good time, and it's really great people, and I've enjoyed working with these players. And I think that's been the most fun I've had in a long time, just being around some guys that care, work hard, and want to get better.
When you come in and start to kind of build your offense and meet with the players, talk to the players, what are maybe a couple of the pillars of kind of your philosophies that really you want to instill here early on?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's physicality. We want to be a physical football team, so that starts with everybody. And that's doing the drills, it's doing the things to become a physical player. It's hammering the weight room, nutrition, all the things that it takes to be a great physical athlete, but really having a mentality from that standpoint. So we want to create that. Then we want to be great right now in spring ball at the fundamentals. How we block, how we carry the ball, how we catch, how we throw. We have to get better, not just at the schemes, but at the fundamentals of the game. And so really focusing on those two things right now, being physical, creating a mentality, getting better at football fundamentally through the techniques, and then building the schemes off of those two things. So I think that's what makes, will make our team successful, is if we have that mentality, we know how to play the game at a high level, then we can put the right schemes in to get the guys the ball and put them in the right spots to be successful.
You mentioned the coaching staff. You have some different components here with guys that were successful kind of at different spots, at different levels. What do you like about the dynamic you guys have offensively?
I'm surrounded by unbelievable coaches right now. This is probably one of the best staffs I've ever been around, and especially, and I'll speak on the offensive side in particular. I mean, you got Kyle Cefalo, you got Julian Griffin there, you got Rolovich, which he does a phenomenal job being a former head coach, and just how he can bring people together. That's been one of the greatest experiences so far too, is just being around him, his leadership, what he brings to the table offensive wise, his knowledge, and then just his leadership, and how he brings people together. But Coach Anai, Coach Tafel, I think Coach Tafel is one of the young great coaches that I've been around. Super excited about his growth. Jeff McDaniels on the staff, Stephen Barnett. We have guys right now that I feel like they care tremendously about what we're trying to do. They provide a lot of great ideas and value to what we're doing. They coach really well in meetings. So they teach, they get on the field, it translates, you see it from the meeting to the field. So every one of those guys, I mean, they've been coordinators, they've called plays, they've all done those things. They're very capable of doing that. So, I feel very lucky to walk in a room with so many talented coaches that provide ideas and then just try to coordinate that and put it together. But it's a group of coaches that have done a great job so far, in my opinion, with the players and what we're trying to accomplish.
What's the best quality of each of the three quarterbacks that have taken most of your reps?
Yeah, I think all of them are pretty tough. So I wouldn't pick one out necessarily. I think they're all pretty tough. As far as just not the physical component, because they're not getting hit, they got their gold jerseys on and all that, but mentally handling the stuff that we need to handle, the pressure of the situations that we put them in. I think they've handled that really well. I think their preparation habits have been good. And Devin being a guy coming from Ohio State, where they had a lot of success, great coaches, he can see, he's seen the value of that process of doing the work. To prepare yourself to be successful. He's really carried that into the quarterback meeting room, so some of the younger players, Jaron and EJ, those guys have really fed off of that and seeing how that process works and how Devin operates. So I think their preparation's been really good, and I think we got some guys that are pretty accurate throwers. We're not where we want to be yet, but when you see guys in one-on-ones and some routes on air and certain game situations we have out here for them, they're all pretty accurate. So we got a chance with the toughness, the preparation, the accuracy, and then what we're working on right now is decision making. Now you have all those things. Now are we making the right decisions, which we're not completely yet, but we're getting better at it.
What's EJ's best quality?
EJ, well, I would say this. I think he's been in a system like this here. He's very comfortable in the stuff that we're doing. I think he handles himself really well, and I think when he's out there on the field, he plays really fast in a good way. And when I say that, it's like he's very smooth, but he's fast. And so he's throwing the ball really well. He's moving the pocket really well. I think he's making good decisions. And he's done nothing but this. I know he played in the bowl game. I got a chance to be there. I got a chance to watch him. Probably one of the best things he could have experienced was having a chance to play in that game, and just his development and what he's done so far. I mean, he's just gone up and up. So I think he's done a great job. I'm excited about him and looking forward to finishing out spring and what he can do.
About Jaron, what's his best quality?
Yeah, Jaron, super accurate. Really good arm. Got a really good feel for the game. He may not always know everything, but he feels the game out there. He sees things on the field that will open up. And he's learning the system. This is new for him. He's a freshman, so it takes time. I think he's picked it up pretty fast. But the feel he has out there, I think he's getting better with his command, his accuracy, his ability to throw the football. He can place the ball really, really well. And that's something I think, if you've seen him, he's been able to do that, and it's been really encouraging now knowing that when we get through spring, he's got a whole summer, May and through summer, to work on now the schemes and the details of it. That's going to show up really well for us in fall camp in August.
And Devin's strength, I would presume, is experience, leadership, that kind of stuff?
It is, yeah. He definitely brings that. He brings a presence to the meeting room that's different, all right? He's been around great players. He's been around great coaches. He's been in a great program. He knows how to prepare. He is equally as smart as any of the coaches we have in that room. He can coach. There's no question about it. He sees things. He's added a few ideas that we didn't have in that they did that I think have been really, really good for us. He's an accurate thrower. He's got great command on the field. He's got presence, really about everything he does in the weight room, wherever we're, doing different things. And I really like the way he's playing faster now, too. He's still learning something new, so it's not like he's got it all figured out, but he does a great job of applying what we talk about in the meetings, the drills, onto the field, and I think at a consistent rate right now, which has been good.
Are you approaching it as a competition, or is there like an already sense of like a pecking order of how you want to approach things, or is it just going to be an open competition until you get ready for the season?
Yeah, it's a pecking order right now. We got to get, everybody went with the ones today. So everybody got to rotate through the ones, the twos, and the threes. So they all got different reps. And so it's not really about ones, twos, and threes. It's about get these plays, right? That's what I want to do. Now get them with a different group. How are you going to operate with the ones, the threes? You want to see quarterbacks in different situations, but right now it's pecking order at this point. We'll come out of spring. We'll have an idea of where we are, not just at the quarterback position, but where the guys are we need to get the ball to, where are some of the guys that are close and have to develop a little bit more over those 3 months before we get into August. So we'll come out of spring certainly with a pecking order, probably a little bit of a depth chart, so we have some things to start with when we get back in June and really start doing our summer works and all those things, workouts. But that's where we are right now, and I think giving guys a little bit of every group, seeing how they operate, all right, what does that look like at the end of spring, with the spring game, and then evaluating after that.
So it's kind of a soft depth chart, you would say, not naming a starter?
I would say everything at this point for most teams is a soft depth chart, really. Because you want to kind of go, okay, here's a few guys we want to get the ball to. How do we do that? Here's some other guys that are up and coming. Yeah. They're just not there yet mentally.
I'm thinking in terms of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, so yeah, same thing for them. Like, hey, we come out of spring, like, look, if we had to go into a game right now, what would we do? This would be where we are right now. And the beauty of that is we're not going into a game, so then we can say to each one of those guys, as they go back and study every single play they had, every throw they made, okay, here are the 3 or 4 things you have to get better at between this time and this time. And then we see it through the summer, and we come back in August, and early in August, it's like, it's open, let's see where we're at. And then you got to start making that decision soon, because you got to start getting your team prepared to go play in the first game, and you got to have your guy out there getting the majority of the reps.
How do Jaden and Jet and that running back group kind of fit into the overall picture of what you guys want to accomplish on offense?
I think those 2 guys have been really good. They're learning a new system. Now, it's not like, I watched a lot of stuff that Cal did last year. There were some good things. There were some really, really good things in there. Those 2 guys right now have just gotten better and better. I think the physicality fits in with them. I think the stuff we're trying to do with the backs, not just running the football, but with them out of the backfield, I think they do a good job with that. And I think we can expand a little bit more now in the second half of spring, utilizing those guys a little bit outside of the backfield. But both guys are into it. That's what I'd say. I think that whole group, they're into it. They're learning, they're trying. I think Coach Griffin does a phenomenal job with that group of creating the mentality because, let's face it, the tailbacks, that position, it's a physical position that people are trying to come after you. So you better have a mentality, and then the things we ask them to do, it's a lot. So they're learning that on top of it. So it's a lot's been thrown at them. I think they've handled it well.
In terms of the offense, Coach Wilcox said it's multiple. Talked to Coach Rolovich, he's like, it's multiple. We've heard different things about it, but just from your perspective, what are maybe some of the things you can share about what it will look like, kind of some of the goals I guess you have for it?
Oh yeah, I'd say it's multiple. Yeah. So it is. I mean, it's right now, especially in spring, and being new and having guys I haven't worked with before, and not like we're going through our second spring together. We're figuring that out. We have I'd say we have a system in place right now, but that's going to morph into something different. Some of the things I've done at certain places don't necessarily fit here. Some of the things I haven't done fit perfectly. And that's where I'm growing. We're all developing and growing with the knowledge of those coaches we mentioned before, bringing new ideas in. What Cal did before that were some really good things. What's some of the trends happening right now that you're trying to go out there and see what teams are doing. I'd say we have a system in place, but we're not going to have that rhythm quite yet until we get out of spring, have a chance to decompress and just go, okay, where are we at? What are we good at? What are the things that we're average? What are the things we really want to do that we didn't get to? And start working that through the summer, and then by August, that's your system. All right, now you have your system in place. This is who we are. Doesn't change the physicality, doesn't change that mentality whatsoever, doesn't change the fundamental work we have to do every single day, but that becomes your identity once you really get into August. And now you have everybody, right? Your full team, you're at full strength, whoever's going to be here is here, and now you can start implementing your system and getting ready for the first game.
Can I take you back to 2006?
Please.
That was your first year as an OC, correct?
It was.
Did you call those 3 plays? I assume you called those 3 plays in the Fiesta Bowl. Did you talk to Chris to confirm that you wanted to do this?
Yeah, I did. So Circus, the 4th and 18, I mean, that was an easy one to call because it was such a crappy situation that was all we had. And they played as perfect as a defense for that situation.
From your standpoint?
From our standpoint, yeah. And so, yeah, we called that and obviously executed that.
Did Chris say, that sounds okay? Or?
No, Chris was great. He didn't interfere with a lot. I know, we ran statute. That was something in that game we were trying to get to. So we could never get on the hash, and we actually had changed the way we did that play in game So we made an adjustment. If you ever watch it, we kind of move right at the last second with the receiver because we hadn't done it that way, but we did something earlier in the game and we saw similar formation, how they played it, and then we said we need to do it this way.
Well, they called a timeout before that play.
Yep.
Did you change the play? Or?
No, we already had it changed because we were trying to get to it earlier in the fourth quarter, and we just couldn't get there, but we had talked about it so much when it came to that situation. When Adrian Peterson gutted us on the first play, it was very clear, if we score, we're done. Either way, the game's going to be over. We're not going into another overtime. So that was already a selection that we're, it was one on the 2-point sheet there, and then we got to it's like we're on a statue. And so, that was one. Now, one that we did, the little halfback toss, that was one that right before I had called a different play, and right before they ran out, I changed it. And in that play, we motioned the quarterback out. He was pissed.
Really?
So and I wouldn't blame him. I don't blame him because it's 4th and 2. But that was the one where it got really, really quiet with everybody, and they're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Not really, but I think this is good." It's two best players throwing and catching it. And the thing about that game that people talk about the plays. What I saw is in the most biggest game these guys ever played, in the critical moment they've ever had in their football career, they executed perfectly. Everything about those plays from the standpoint of the players were executed perfectly in that moment. To me, that's the biggest story I think of all of it, is the players actually doing those plays perfectly to execute them like they did.
How would you describe your time at Auburn?
It was an experience. I think that's one of the things that you go through in a career. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. Some places are better than others. Some things work out. I think environment's a huge part of it. But I wouldn't change anything. We made a decision, at that point, my wife and I and my kids and our lives, that was a decision for us to go and to take that opportunity. So I'm not a guy that looks back. I remember sitting in the kitchen right there. We got the offer, and it was one of those we want to do this. It was a whole family decision too, and it was. Did it go the way that we wanted it to? It didn't. But sometimes when you take chances like that, it doesn't always go your way. But I wouldn't change or tell anybody not to take a chance just because it doesn't go your way. And we learned from it. We got had a great experience in a lot of ways. Leaving and having some time, to sit back and kind of reflect, from our coaching career and just be with the family, and then think about, okay, what's the next opportunity? Are we going to get back into this? Is this something we're going to do? And then Cal became that opportunity.
Now, what did you do last year? You were an advisor somewhere?
No, I didn't. You know what I did? I did a couple things. I worked with some head coaches. I talked with some other coaches along the way. I did a deal with some minority coaches that are potential head coaches, so I did some things with them that were football related, because there's a whole leadership class that these guys got to be a part of, and they're great coaches, and so I got to do the football piece. Really enjoyed that. So I kind of took that time to, mentor.
Coaching.
No, kind of mentoring.
Yeah.
Helping my son out, working with him when he was in high school, getting a chance to watch his games and be a part of that. But I'll tell you that, what was nice about that time was spending it with some of the coaches I worked with and some of the coaches I've always wanted to, spend some time with and learning. And be able to share some experiences with them, but also learn some things, because I wasn't competing or recruiting against them. So, it turned out to be really valuable for me, and it was good to kind of, be with the family and focus on them.
Determined to get back into coaching now? Or not necessarily?
Not necessarily if it was a good situation, right? And I think the one thing at that point in my life is I've always kind of had a trust in my gut. And I would know if something was right, and it felt right. And when, Justin and I were talking, as we got closer to, is this going to be something that, he might offer and we want to do, there was no question it was the right thing to do. And it was the right thing because I believe so much in him and how he does things, that I would fit really well. I would be able to contribute, and, coming to a place like this, it's, at that point, I'm like, that's a no-brainer. This is a great opportunity.